Hello, it's Janice from Louis de Fleurs. Welcome back into the studio. Today we are going to work on a really simple apron panel project together today. So if you are in the mood for just some fun cut and sew, this one's for you. This is going to be a really simple one. And I just absolutely love the fern and mushroom and moth print on this gorgeous Northcott panel. And then we are going to accent it with a little bit of fabric from our stash. So if you would like to sew along with me today, let's get started. Okay, what we are going to work on today is this easy panel, apron, and oven mitts, and then you get these little patches, which I think I will turn into maybe little hot pads eventually. I'm not sure if I will do that now or at a later date, but this is a panel and you can get these. This one is Northcott Patterns Wild Harvest. There's all of the information if you want to try to find it. It is new in my local quilt shop as of the winter season, so it was new for the holidays, but oh my gosh, just look at how beautiful this is. It's got moths and ferns, dragonflies, and then mushrooms down here at the bottom. And it is a set. It is an apron, so you get the apron front as well as ties for the neck and the waist. You get a right and a left of oven mitts, as well as the instructions are printed along the side, and you get you get tabs for your oven mitts, and you get 4 little patches that you could do whatever you want with. Like I said, I think they would be cute turned into like a hot pad type of situation, but I don't know if I would do that. You could also make like a little table runner or something else, but this is just absolutely gorgeous. I know you can't see it super great. I'm just going to stand back and kind of let you take it in for a second. It does have coordinating fabric over here in my hot mess area. So you could get the white, which I don't think is great for this application, but this does go with it. You can see super, super pretty. I don't think that would be really good for an apron because it's got a white background, but it's beautiful. If they had it in black, then that might be nice. And then I don't know if this is the same collection or a different one. They look like they could go together. Oh, they are. They probably are. So I got this one too. It's like baby animals. So cute. I'm going to use this for a different project. That's why it's over here on this pile. But I just wanted to show and share all of those really pretty Northcott fabrics. I know this is a little bit cheating, but you know, I don't always want to make stuff from scratch either. Sometimes I just want to sew. And so I'm showing these panels because I think this is a great option if you're kind of new to sewing and you're not 100% sure what you're doing. You don't want to think that hard about it. Even if you have been sewing for decades or you're like me and you sew constantly, sometimes I just want to make something that's simple and just have fun with it. I bought these panels intentionally as gifts for friends for the holidays, which then I hurt my hand and I couldn't finish them on time. So I'm trying to get them ready for, birthdays and things that are coming up so I can gift them appropriately. But I also think they make great pattern pieces. So if you really love the design, then this also gives you an idea of layout. So the top part could be a really wild, fun print, and then it has a little band down at the bottom in something that coordinates down here. So this is a really great idea, and you could do that with whatever fabric you wanted to use that would be interesting. Or I'm thinking maybe it would be fun to make something for Easter. So you could do like an Easter bunny. Again, this is white, so maybe not the best for this application, but also, I don't know. I just think that would be fun. Or I could extend the life of my bunnies and do the top part that's going to get yucky in this gray, and then make my band at the bottom a little bit wider with just the bunnies that go to here. Anyway, so something to think about. Fun can be had with that. But today in this video, we're just going to put this thing together, and it should go pretty quick because we're just going to follow directions. All right, step one is just going to be to review the instructions as they're printed on the side of the panel. So regardless of what panel you get, if you buy something like this, it will have the instructions printed right on the piece that will get cut off at your quilt shop. So that makes it super easy. And then, of course, we're going to give it a nice hot press to smooth out any tricky little folds that have accumulated from being stuffed in a bag. That just makes it so much easier to cut out. And then we're just going to cut right along the lines. You can see here that they've already drawn out like, hey, cut off the instructions right here. You can see the band with the instructions. I'm just opening it up and cutting through those layers one at a time. I do use scissors for this part. You can also use a grid ruler if you want to, and I'm going to use that to go around all of the straight edges of my apron panel. So here at the bottom of the apron, I'm just going to line up my straight edge of my acrylic ruler right along where it says cut out, and I'm going to just follow those instructions. You might want to save that little piece where it says insert the ties in this spot. Or you could mark it with a pin or mark it with a little bit of tailor's chalk or fabric pencil, just so that you don't forget where it wanted you to place them. I kind of just sort of memorized that it's about an inch in from the edges, and I'm just going to roll with that. So I didn't really make a mark, but if you want to be sure about it, or if maybe you're not going to finish this all in one day or in the weekend, you might want to make a mark so you don't forget that. Again, these are the ties that we're going to create to go around the outside. It does have instructions on how to do this. I don't exactly follow the instructions because I really hate turning things inside out, so I tend to fold mine in half and then fold in the sides and sew down the one edge. But you can do it however you like. If you don't want to have... If you don't want to fuss with it, you can just follow their instructions, or you can just use the pieces however you like them. You could put a backing on them too if you wanted to do that. And then I'm going to cut out the mitts. So the mitts are a little bit harder. I'm going to use the ruler where I can on the straight bits. It also has a mark on the side there for the tab that's included, which is really nice. Then I am just going to freehand with my rotary blade around the outside. It's a questionable idea, I'm going to admit it. But you could use scissors and cut that out too, so you have a little bit more control. The next step is to select a piece of fabric from your stash that you feel like coordinates. I have this old kind of country red gingham, and this is going to be my backing fabric. So I think for this one you need about, if I'm going to say, it's about maybe 1.5 yards. Don't quote me on that. You would want to check your panel and how much you need. Maybe it's closer to 2 yards till I do both of the mitts, because the apron is quite big. That probably takes up really mostly 1 yard. So I would say definitely 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards. I'm just placing right sides together, and then I'm pinning around the exterior of the apron panel. And just smooth as you go, like smooth out from the center as you go. I line it up against one straight edge as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect because it will be inside your seam, and we're going to do a generous seam allowance on this. So I think about a 3/8 instead of a 1/4 is probably appropriate since it's a garment. That little bit of extra room gives you that wiggle room so that you can turn it, and we'll top sew it. I am using my ruler again my grid ruler, and also my rotary blade, and trimming around the outside again. Here I'm just sort of freehanding in that curve. It's very gentle, and that's pretty easy to do with the blade. But again, you could use the scissors. I'm just going to set that panel aside for now, and I'm going to work on the oven mitts primarily. So again, I am using their piece to create a pattern for my lining. I'm just trimming off anything that's scraggly there at the bottom. And then I'm going to line it up along the straight side the best I can. I'm going to try to get as many as I can out of this little offcut from my apron. And that's what I'm doing here, just trying to piece everything. And I'm going to pin it in place so that it doesn't shift as I cut. And these are right sides together. You could also, if you had a more regular sized piece, you could fold it in half and cut two at once. That's probably a little bit more bang for your buck. But here I was just trying to use up what I had. Again, I'm freehanding with the blade. It's sort of a questionable decision. You could also use scissors to have more control. And I think my blade's getting dull, which is a no-no. So I should replace that. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut both of these mittens out. And this gives me the front and back pieces that I need to assemble both. Then once I have a little bit, if I just have a little bit of scraps left, I tend to just go ahead straight away and trim them down to a 2.5-inch block size. I think Lori Holt is like super famous for keeping her scraps really well organized and like pre-cutting things down to sizes that she uses frequently. And I've tried to adopt that as much as possible when I can remember to do it. It does make life a lot better if you just have a box of 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch or 5.5-inch squares that you can dig into, and also you're not overwhelmed by the irregularity of some scrap bins. So that's a good, top tip there. Now I am laying my front pieces of my oven mitts on Insulbrite. So you do need Insulbrite for this if you want to make your mittens actually heat reflective. That's the metallic coating that you see there. It reflects the heat away from your skin. So you want to make sure to put that facing out. So that would be the heat reflective touching the back side of the mitts, so that when your hand is in there, the heat is being pushed away by that reflective coating. You could also use a couple different layers. You could use several layers of quilt batting if you didn't have Insulbrite. But if you want to make these for gifts and you don't want them to be super bulky, and even if you just want to make them for yourself, I do recommend the Insulbrite. It's not really any more expensive than batting, and it works really well. And then you only really need this one layer because it has that special coating and it reduces the bulk. So I'm cutting those out. I added my little tab there, and I did some light quilting in a wide grid. You can quilt as much as you like. I do recommend at least a light grid like this to hold everything in place. Then I cut those out and I am placing them right sides together. And I love these clover clips for projects like this. It's really easy to not bump the pins off or catch yourself when you're going around corners. And then I am just going to backstitch at the beginning and ending, and I'm doing that 3/8 inch seam all the way around the outside. Just guide and turn your mitten as you move slowly through it, through sewing it. Then you turn with your needle down when you get to a corner or an edge that you need to pivot around. And voila, not too difficult. I do have a walking foot on for this because, again, I'm sewing with batting. Then we need to notch around the curves of our mitten, especially the thumb where it's sort of a tight curve. So that just allows the fabric to stretch. See, where we notched it stretches much better than where it was not notched. When you come down into this little spot where the thumb separates, I try to go pretty deep into the corners. You cannot cut your stitches, so be careful not to cut too close, but you want to go close enough. So just keep the notch right to the outside of your stitch line. And then we need to repeat that same thing on the lining pieces as well. So just making sure that you are notching all the areas and then cutting like a deep V right into the corners when you get to the thumb. Okay, now we need to turn our lining right side out, and we're going to stuff it down inside of the exterior piece. So right sides together, and then we are going to match up the seams, the side seams for the lining as well as the exterior part of our mitten. I like to clip them again. You could pin, whatever works for you. I like to stretch that side so that everything's laying nice and flat, and give yourself a generous 2 to 3 inch hole that you're not going to sew, so you can turn it right side out and clip on the opposite side. There's the hole. Okay, so pop it onto your machine. Again, use your walking foot and a generous 3/8 inch allowance, and sew around the turn. Just leave the needle down when you need to stop and pivot and turn the fabric, just so that it's straight enough going into your foot that you can keep the edges of your fabric lined up. And that's it. And I like to do the clips because they're really easy to just pick off as you work your way around. There's plenty to pay attention to when you're going sort of around a tight rim. So the little clips make that easy. And start and stop at the opening so that it doesn't come undone when you reach your hand in here and pull everything and turn it right sides out. So here comes all the pretty things, and we have to shove it all down in there. So get your hand in there. You might want to get a dull turning stick if you have one, or like an old chopstick, and put it down in there and help push out. The thumb especially is a little tight till you get it all turned, but you can do it. Oh, we're back to the apron. Okay, so here are the ties that I created. And I just followed I just fold them in half, and then I fold them in 1/4 inch on all the sides and top sew. And it shows you the placement, or if you were smart and you marked it at the beginning, then you're just going to pop those in. Again, I said I just came down about 1 inch from the top, and I just pinned them there, and that was fine. Yes, you need to have them tucked in between the lining and the front panel. So raw edge is going there against raw edge, and the whole rest of it is tucked inside so that when we flip it out, it is where it needs to be, okay? And now same thing with this guy. We're going to just jam him down in here. Make sure that the tails are kind of out of the way. You could also pin that in place so that it's not being bothersome. I'm not sure what's happening here. Oh, it's just bothering. It was just being fussy, see? So you could pin them down to the front, or sometimes if I remember, I will like baste stitch them in place before I even do this, and then you don't have to worry about pinning, or you can just make sure that the tails are pinned away where they're not going to get caught in some other side seam that you don't want them to be in. So just making sure that they're pinned in place, and then we're going to just throw this on the machine. I've pinned the whole way around before, remember, and I've left that 2 to 3 inch gap that I'm not going to sew at the bottom of my apron so that I can turn it right side out. And then simply using that 3/8 inch seam, and we're going the whole way around the perimeter of both of the pieces. And I do like to go back and forth a couple of times over where the ties are inserted. It just helps to like extra secure them, since you will be pulling on them to tighten the apron. So back stitch at the beginning and the end. You got to remove all of your pins and then turn the whole thing out, just like with the oven mitts. Here comes all the pretty stuff. Fabulous. And then you're just going to fold over, and I like to press around all of my edges, and also making sure that I'm pressing over the fabric there at the hole so that it forms a nice tight joint when you sew it. And then we're top sewing around the entire perimeter again. This is another chance to secure your ties in place. Make sure that they're not caught underneath, and they are pulled off to the side and out of the way. So that they're secured properly and not accidentally sewn to the back of your apron. That would be devastating. Not really, you could just pick it out, but still, time waste. So just pay attention to that one. And then we're just sewing around the whole thing till we make sure we've closed that turning hole. And ta-da, we're done. We have a gorgeous set of pre-printed oven mitts and this apron. This one's a tie. You could also use those D-rings and make it so that it slides, but I didn't have any, and I didn't want to go get some. So we're just rolling with the ties. Easy enough, and plenty of length on this. If you needed more, you could definitely add a little bit more generous length to your ties, really simply with some coordinating fabric. And then the mitts are so nice. They're lined and they match the apron back. And if I had something cooking right now, it'd be so easy to grab it. And they look really pretty. But realistically, what I do is just pick up all of the cups that people leave sitting around the house. So anyway, here it is. It is a gorgeous set of Northcott fabric panels for mushroom and oven mitt. It's called Wild Harvest. Like I mentioned before, it's currently in my quilt shop. I would Google it though, because look at how gorgeous this is. It's simply to die for. So thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I hope you found this inspirational, and I hope it encourages you to get down into your sewing room today. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe for more.